Hey everyone, today we're going to be doing some more work on the C10. So yeah, it's C10 time again. This time we're going to be welding up the marker lights on the two front fenders and the two bed sides. So I'm sure there's a lot of how-to videos on it, but I'm going to do my own just so you guys see how I work. And to get started, the first thing to do is you need to make a template of what you're doing. So I've got a little cardboard template, and then what I do is I like to use an old piece of sheet metal that I've just got laying around from a previous project, and I basically marked out the 4 pieces I need. I know this looks curved right here, but from this point here is flat, and that's what I want. And so got them all marked out. I'm going to get these 4 pieces cut out, and then I will start doing the kind of how-to on how to weld those in when you're doing any type of welding on sheet metal, whether it be a patch panel for rust repair or just something like this where you're doing a little bit of customization. It's all pretty much the same when it comes to welding on sheet metal, especially on these older vehicles where the sheet metal is a little bit thicker. The main thing is you just want to go slow, take your time, and you don't want to build up too much heat in the panel because that will cause major warp and distortion. Trust me, I've been there, done that. So you just really want to go super slow and take your time. So I'm gonna get this cut out and then be right back. So before I get too far, I should probably show you guys what I use for tools when I do some of this stuff, in case you're wanting to know or you're curious what I use. For most of the stuff that I do anymore, tool-wise, I actually usually buy Snap-on tools. I do use a lot of my old Craftsman stuff too from when I first started out, but anymore it's predominantly Snap-on. And again, I do want to point out that I am not sponsored in any way by anybody. Everything I buy and everything I use comes out of my own pocket. So if I say I'm using something, it's because I truly do use it and I think it's the best equipment or tool for the job I'm doing. So, and anymore, I've gone away completely from pneumatic as much as possible. I try to keep everything cordless just because for me it's just a lot easier and handier. And for this particular job, it's the brushless angle grinder. And this one works out really well for this type of job. It's variable speed, so you can run it almost as fast as you want to or as slow as you want to. And you can pop off different attachments. So when I'm cutting this, just use this really thin cutoff wheel. And for doing some of the lesser grinding or just trimming up or smoothing panels or removing weld, I use these. These are a 3640 grit, and they cut through stuff pretty quick without being overly aggressive on the metal. And you can even throw on a little wire wheel too on these. So there's a lot of different attachments you can put on this particular tool, but this is what I use for making my cuts. And as you can see, I mean, my lines aren't perfectly straight, but it does work pretty good for doing this type of cutting. Again, there's a lot of other tools you can use for this, but this is what I use for this particular type of job. So, all right, so I've got the panel cut out and it's in place, and I'll show you guys that right now. So there's my right front marker filler. And what I like to do is I like to leave just a small gap right there, which will be filled with the weld. I don't like this to be butted tightly, otherwise it can cause expansion contraction issues with the sheet metal. And I like to use rare earth magnets to hold it in place. I could not find my smaller magnets for some reason. These are my large panel magnets. They're fairly strong, but they'll work. The only thing you need to be aware of, if you use magnets, you cannot weld right next to the magnet, like here. It disrupts the welding field and it will not weld correctly. You want to weld like here and here at first, as far away as possible, and then move your magnets around to weld the other spots. So try and stay as far away from the magnets as possible when you're welding next to them. And again, so I'm going to start, and you want to put a tack and you kind of want to go around like this. Again, keeping the heat distributed and keeping the panel as cool as possible. Okay, there's the piece. It's tacked in place with my first tacks. The magnets are removed. And then now I'm gonna start and I'm gonna go and weld here, probably here, and kind of go around and space in between these welds. Do that 3 or 4 times, allowing cooling in between the panel. And then I'm gonna take my grinding wheel and grind those down smooth, and then come back and weld some more, and basically grinding, welding, and get this whole piece completely smooth. And again, watch your heat, make sure the panel doesn't get very hot. Something like this usually takes me about 20 minutes to weld and grind in place before I'm done. It's kind of a slow process, but I'm gonna weld it up a little bit more and show you that process. Okay, a little bit further, a few more welds, and then hit it with the grinder a little bit. I don't really grind a lot. I just knock the high spots off. I'll come through here and do a final grind when I'm done welding, but I like to knock the high spots off. That way I can see if I've missed any spots, because I definitely do not want any gaps or any pinholes in the metal. So that just allows me to see it a little bit better. And then while I'm at it, the welder that I'm actually using to do this is a Cornwell MIG 130. It's just a 110 volt welder, and for doing sheet metal, it works really well. It's not really good for heavy welding like 1/4 inch, but for sheet metal and anything up to say an 1/8 inch, it's a really good welder. So I've been really happy with it. Had it for about 4 or 5 years, and that's what I do for most of my sheet metal. So now I'm going to finish welding this up and get it all ground down and show you guys what it looks like when it's finished. And here's the patch panel, fully welded, grinded, and I hit it with a DA to help smooth it up a little bit. It's not my best work, but it'll be okay for now. Eventually, when I get ready to paint, I will pull the fender off and I'll hammer and dolly it and get it a little bit smoother. And one more thing I'm gonna do is on the inside, you have the stamp pocket that was left over, and it leaves a lip right here. And I'm going to actually cut this completely out and then smooth this out when I paint it, because this lip is an area that can collect garbage, dirt and stuff. And I just don't want to have any problems with it rusting in the future. So I will definitely end up removing that and smoothing out the inside of the panel as well. Again, this, I'm really not actually happy with this. It's not my best work. I got in too big of a hurry, like I said not to do, and there's a little bit of distortion. A lot of times when I do this, I can just weld it, grind it, sand it down, and basically by the time you get done with epoxy and your high build primer, it's smooth enough where it doesn't need any filler. And I'm gonna try and smooth this out later to where it doesn't need filler, because I hate using filler. So again, not my best work, but that gives you the basic idea of how to do a weld-in patch panel. So now I've got 3 more to do, and the marker lights will be filled, and then I still have to finish up the bed with welding up the 4 stake pockets as well. So I'll get to that in the future. I won't be doing a video on it. Again, it's just kind of tedious, over and over, welding, grinding, sanding, welding, grinding, sanding. So I'll probably come back with a video later when everything's done and welded up. But for now, that is gonna be it for today, or I should say tonight, and then more to come on the C10. Hopefully sooner than later, but you never know. Anyway, as always, have a great day, great night, wherever you may be. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one. We'll see you later.